You heard the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, say the White House is not going to control the pandemic. But our next guest says the president didn't even put up a fight from the very beginning. In a CNN.com op-ed, Professor Jeffrey Sachs writes, Donald Trump has surrendered without ever joining the battle. I have no doubt he will be remembered as the greatest presidential failure in American history. Jeffrey Sachs is joining us now to discuss. He's a professor of sustainable development and a professor of health policy and management at Columbia University. Dr. Sachs, thank you for being with us. You say that President Trump will be remembered as the greatest presidential failure in American history. Why is that?
230,000 deaths to date, roughly 1,000 deaths each day now. And they say we're not even trying, as the chief of staff said yesterday. The imbecility of it is boundless. The incompetence of it is unbelievable, because it has been clear that there are ways to approach this for months, as other countries are successfully doing. And we have just about the worst outcomes of the entire world, taking into account the size of our population, that is measuring cases per million or deaths per million, or the number of new infections. It's out of control in this country, because they have not done anything right since the very start of this. Lies, confusion, this idea we have to keep the economy open, as if that's the only thing to think about. And so it's been one fool after another, and here we are with mass suffering in the United States today.
And I mean, you outline how there's a false choice between the economy and between health. You make that very clear in your op-ed. You also say that how you react to a public health crisis like this is basic, that every first-year health student would have known what to do. So how does that make his pandemic response that much more egregious, that it's not like reinventing the wheel? I mean, this was basic stuff.
In fact, this was all known and knowable in March. I wrote it every few days since then, essentially. But countries as varied as Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, they've shown for months this can be brought under control through basic rapid testing, case tracing, wearing face masks, safe isolation of people, safe workplaces, stopping large super spreader events. This is the basic checklist. But Trump he's really such an idiot. I'm sorry to say it, because he's president of the United States, but the complete ignorance, but also the arrogance not to listen to people who know. And it's not about politics, about 230,000 American dead, 8.9 million people with confirmed infections so far, and many of them living with long-term disabilities, with brain impairments. It's unbelievable, the incompetence and the malevolence that went along with it, because as experts were trying to say day after day, week after week, do this, complete shutdown of thinking by this president. Maybe that's just beyond him, but this is really something we've never seen before in this country.
You're watching how the vice president is now reacting here. He has been exposed to people with coronavirus. He has 5 of his closest aides, including his chief of staff and his body man. What should he be doing, and what does it mean that he's not doing that?
He should be self-isolating, but the failure that they couldn't, even after the first White House outbreak, stop this shows that they don't take any precautions. It's imbecility. I mean, really, you cannot account for this at any level of responsibility. But I don't know what it is they're really thinking, because all those countries that I mentioned that have had success, they have the economy open. So the whole idea, well, we're doing it so we can keep the economy open, is exactly backwards. How can you keep an economy open with surging pandemics? You can't. You keep the economy open by controlling the pandemic. But Trump's idea all along is never tell the truth, never acknowledge, never learn. And that's what we have today, which is say whatever you want. We're turning the corner, whatever it is. It's complete fantasy world for his followers. I don't know how they can still listen to this, because they see around them in their neighborhoods, in their families, with their friends, with their parents, their children, their siblings. People are getting infected all over this country. And the president, the vice president are out there as if nothing's happening. And the chief of staff is saying we don't control it, we can't contain it, because obviously his statement reflected this fundamental ignorance to this day that of course it can be contained.
Yeah, it's a sad situation, Dr. Sachs. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for covering it.